Hello again to all my sexy mamas and papas out there that are supporting me and watching my channel. I really appreciate you. So when I'm talking about trans labels, I'm talking about, you know, for example, transgender. That's a label. Transgender woman, transgender man, bigender, gender fluid. Occasionally, you might have heard me use the term trans feminine. Okay, there's all these labels that we tend to use in the transgender community quite commonly. And sometimes I think that we don't all have a clear understanding on what those mean. And oftentimes, we're kind of not using them properly according to what they actually mean. What I mean is, what it means to us as an individual isn't really what it means. Okay? It's not really what it means. So, just for a second, let's talk about different trans labels and what they actually mean. Now, you can use whatever label you want, and I'm sure if you use these labels, even, I don't know, I wouldn't say wrongly, but whatever, people are going to know what you're talking about. Okay? But others might be a little bit miffed because maybe that's their label and I don't know, they kind of want you to use it properly or something. Who knows? But just so you know, these are what the labels actually are. Okay, so first of all, when we use the word, when we're talking about the transgender community as like a whole group, as like when we hear about transgender being an umbrella term, a spectrum, all that kind of stuff, we're using the word trans, not the word of the abbreviation trans. Somebody would say that they're trans. And oftentimes that will be in all caps. Okay, so when we use that, we're saying, we're talking about the whole transgender community. Okay, or you can put it another way, when we're talking about the entire transgender community, especially in writing, oftentimes it'll be referred to as the trans community. Okay, so when somebody says they're transgender, usually they're talking about they identify as a transgender woman or a transgender man, okay? Not as cisgender or bigender, or anything else. They fully identify as a woman, as a man, okay? Usually when somebody says that. But usually someone would say transgender woman also. To be proper, you would say transgender woman, not just transgender, okay? So those are the differences between those two, trans and transgender. Of course, I honestly say just transgender all the time because if I say just trans, people outside of our community don't really know what I'm talking about. Now, other terms you'll oftentimes hear, especially in amongst people who maybe at one time labeled themselves as cross-dressers, and that's another label you hear a lot in our community. So maybe they live their life kind of part-time as women, okay, not really full-time, is you'll hear people refer to themselves as gender fluid, okay? Now, that's one that I think people oftentimes use wrong. When you have a sense that your gender identity is some combination of your masculine and feminine sides that kind of tends to go back and forth, that's not really gender fluid, totally. Okay, let me clarify. What really matters is this. It's how you live your life. So a gender fluid person is a person who not only feels that way, but their gender expression is fluid also. So they have a gender expression that could not wholly be defined as masculine or feminine. That doesn't mean, though, that it's non-binary, that it's some kind of an ambiguous gender expression. Okay? You can see elements of masculinity and femininity in their gender expression. Okay, so that they're not completely trying to pass as a girl, but they're obviously being very feminine. Okay? But you can tell that they're male. Okay? so that their gender expression is some mix of the two. That is gender fluid. A perfect example of that you might have seen Vera Wild, okay, who did cross-dressing tips for beginners. Currently, her gender expression is, gender fluid. Okay. Now, if you're like me, where you either present as male or as female, okay. You see, I did an interview some time ago with Michelle Backhouse. She presents as male or as female, one or the other, and that's it. Okay. That's by gender. Okay, I'm bi gender. The way that I have a masculine expression and I have a feminine expression, and I might feel very feminine when I'm presenting as a guy, and sometimes I'll even sit around the house in some of my girlier clothes. Not I mean like a full-on dress, but like honestly, my pajamas. A lot of my pajamas and stuff like that are the girlier things, just because they're more comfortable, you know. But I wouldn't describe myself as gender fluid. I don't like being in the middle, I guess. I kind of like being one or the other. Anyway, so those are what those things mean. Actually, you can use them any way you want. It's not like you're doing something wrong if you use it the wrong way, but you should know. It's just that's how those terms apply. Okay, and thank you.